Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Future Force. Today we are going to take a detailed look into one of the most audacious and strategically significant operations carried out in modern warfare, Ukraine's bold strike on the Crimean Bridge. This event has been a focal point of international discussion, not just because of the damage it inflicted, but because of what it represents in terms of strategy, resilience, technology, and the evolving nature of conflict. To understand the full scope of this strike, we must explore every layer, from the visible destruction on the bridge's exterior to the deep structural and logistical impacts inside, the performance and execution of the operation, the safety implications for both sides, the unique elements that make this operation stand out, the estimated cost of such a strike, and what all this means in the larger context of the ongoing war. The Crimean Bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge, stands as a critical link between mainland Russia and the Crimean Peninsula, which was annexed by Russia in 2014. This bridge is not only a massive infrastructure project, but also a powerful symbol of Russia's hold over Crimea. Its dual functionality allows it to carry both road and rail traffic, enabling the transport of military supplies, fuel, civilian vehicles, and goods across the Kerch Strait. Before the strike, this bridge had been fortified with various protective measures including radar monitoring, naval patrols, and anti-sabotage defenses. However, the recent strike exposed significant vulnerabilities in this seemingly secure supply route. From the outside, the strike left visible scars that instantly made global headlines. Sections of the bridge were heavily damaged, with parts of the road collapsing into the waters below, steel reinforcements twisted, and significant scorch marks indicating the intensity of the blast. Smoke rose for hours, disrupting traffic and forcing Russia to halt both military and civilian transit temporarily. The external damage alone was enough to send a strong political message. The bridge, long seen as untouchable, was no longer immune to Ukrainian reach. But the damage to the exterior was only the surface of a far deeper operational disruption. Inside the bridge's functional network, the strike had a much more profound effect. The Crimean Bridge was designed with a sophisticated internal system to support its dual-purpose lanes, one side for automobiles and the other for railway transport. The railway component is particularly important because it allows the movement of heavy military equipment, including tanks, artillery, fuel supplies, and ammunition, directly into the Crimean Peninsula. By striking the bridge, Ukraine disrupted this flow, creating bottlenecks and forcing Russia to reroute its supply chains through less efficient, more vulnerable alternatives. Engineers were dispatched to inspect the bridge's internal supports, including the load-bearing beams and concrete pylons. Any compromise to these structures would mean that even if the surface looked repaired, the underlying foundation might remain unsafe for heavy transport. The psychological impact of this interior disruption cannot be overstated. Russian forces stationed in Crimea and southern Ukraine depend on a steady flow of reinforcements and logistics. The knowledge that their most critical bridge could be struck again at any moment creates a constant state of uncertainty. For military planners, this means allocating more resources toward defending the bridge, investing in counter-drone technology, and possibly reconsidering their entire logistical approach in the region. For civilians living in Crimea, the strike served as a reminder that the war is not distant but very much at their doorstep. The performance of the operation highlights the shift in modern warfare from brute force to precision. Reports indicate that Ukraine used unmanned naval drones and possibly aerial assets to carry out this strike. These drones are relatively inexpensive compared to traditional cruise missiles and can be deployed stealthily across contested waters. The timing of the operation, the accuracy of the strike, and the ability to evade Russian defenses all point to a well-coordinated mission supported by strong intelligence and planning. This was not a random act of sabotage. It was a carefully calculated strike designed to inflict maximum strategic disruption with minimal cost. Performance also includes the post-strike management of information. Ukraine neither fully claimed nor fully denied responsibility immediately after the attack, allowing global speculation to build and creating psychological pressure on Russia. This ambiguity served as an additional layer of warfare, informational warfare, that keeps the opponent guessing about capabilities and future plans. Such a balance of execution and information control reflects a maturing military strategy that is adaptive, flexible, and effective against a larger adversary. Safety considerations played a crucial role in this operation. Ukraine has consistently sought to minimize civilian casualties in its offensive operations, and this strike was reportedly conducted during a time when civilian traffic was minimal. For Russia, the bridge was built with several safety redundancies, including heavy surveillance, naval patrols, and defensive barriers. Yet the strike revealed critical gaps in these systems. Either the defenses were not active enough, or they were not calibrated to detect and neutralize small, unmanned threats traveling at low profiles across the water. This failure raises serious questions about the effectiveness of Russian protective infrastructure around high-value targets. The unique aspects of this strike make it a textbook example of modern asymmetric warfare. First, it was aimed at infrastructure that has both symbolic and operational importance. Damaging the bridge does not just disrupt traffic. It strikes at the heart of Russia's claim over Crimea by making its connection fragile. Second, the tools used, likely unmanned drones, demonstrate how low-cost, high-impact technologies are reshaping the battlefield. Third, the strike created a ripple effect far beyond the immediate area. Russian logistics had to adapt, and global observers took note of Ukraine's growing technological and tactical capabilities. Finally, the psychological impact on both the Russian side and the occupied territories cannot be ignored. A population that sees the very symbol of occupation attacked may feel emboldened, while occupying forces must now operate under heightened stress and uncertainty. The price of this operation is complex to calculate. Financially, the cost of building and deploying a few drones and coordinating the mission is far less than that of a full missile barrage or a large-scale airstrike. However, the price is not only measured in money, but also in risk. Each strike of this magnitude risks triggering retaliatory strikes from Russia, often directed at civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. Ukraine weighed this risk and determined that the potential benefits, delaying Russian reinforcements, sending a political message, and demonstrating capability, outweighed the costs. Furthermore, the strike's cost in terms of international diplomacy appears to have been minimal, as many nations view infrastructure strikes within occupied territories as legitimate military targets, especially when precautions are taken to avoid civilian harm. In the aftermath, Russia has attempted to repair the bridge quickly, using it again for traffic within a short span of time. However, each repair is costly and time-consuming, and each successful strike forces Russia to divert more resources into protecting what was once considered a secure link. Ukraine, meanwhile, has gained valuable intelligence from this operation about Russian response times, about the bridge's resilience, and about the global reaction to such bold maneuvers. Looking at the broader implications, this strike symbolizes the changing nature of warfare in the 21st century. No longer is the largest bomb or the biggest army the sole determinant of victory. Precision, intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to disrupt critical supply lines can change the tide of a conflict. The Crimean Bridge is not just concrete and steel. It is a lifeline for an occupying force and a target that represents resistance. Each successful attack against it chips away not only at Russia's logistical capacity, but also at its image of control. The strike also sends a message to the international community that Ukraine is capable of carrying out sophisticated operations despite being outgunned in many conventional aspects of the war. This capability can influence future aid, alliances, and diplomatic negotiations. Allies may see a resilient and innovative partner worth supporting, while adversaries may be forced to reconsider their assumptions about the conflict's trajectory. For civilians and analysts watching from afar, the strike raises important questions about the safety of infrastructure in modern conflicts. Bridges, ports, railways, and pipelines, all once considered relatively secure behind front lines, are now vulnerable to low-cost, high-precision attacks. This has implications beyond Ukraine and Russia. Nations worldwide are reassessing their critical infrastructure protection measures in light of these evolving threats. From a symbolic perspective, The attack on the Crimean Bridge is a reminder that occupation does not guarantee permanence. Even the most fortified structures can be challenged, and even the most heavily guarded routes can be disrupted when the opposing side applies innovation, patience, and strategic focus. For Ukraine, this is not the end goal but a step in a larger campaign to weaken Russian control over occupied territories and eventually restore its own territorial integrity. In the coming months, it is likely that both sides will adapt. Russia will increase its defensive measures, deploy more surveillance assets, and perhaps attempt to create alternate supply lines. Ukraine, on the other hand, may look to repeat or refine such operations, targeting other critical nodes that sustain the Russian war effort. Each such move adds to the complex chessboard of this conflict, where every strike and every repair shifts the balance slightly in one direction or another. Ultimately, Ukraine's bold strike on the Crimean Bridge is a case study in the power of modern asymmetric warfare. It shows how a smaller nation with limited conventional means can leverage technology, intelligence, and strategic planning to challenge a larger power. It exposes the vulnerabilities of even the most celebrated infrastructure projects, and highlights the importance of adaptability in a conflict that has no easy or quick resolution in sight. The bridge may stand again, but its image has been permanently altered, from a symbol of control to a reminder of resistance.